session to order of October 17th, our second draft budget for review. We do have a quorum. There's 4 of us here to count for the quorum, and then we have city manager, or city mayor, city council member elect Mike Calhoun. And then with that, I'll turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You have the schedule before us. However, we are going to make a change this evening, and electric will not be presenting tonight. We have some calculations that we want to be 100% certain of, and so they're being rerun. So it is Finance and Harbor this evening. I did send a few documents last night of questions that were asked, and I'll continue to do that. I did speak with the mayor via text today about setting up an additional work session, possibly even now 2 because of electric, but my original thought was sometime the week of November 1st. And the week of November 1st to what I'm calling to bring back to you a second draft budget with everything hopefully that you've asked for in there, and so that it's an updated document for you that we can go through again in preparation for final submission to the clerk for the public hearing, the first public hearing. However, if we do that, I don't think we can do electric and that on the same night. I think we need a separate time for electric. As well.
Yeah,
I mean, we could, it would be a long evening. I guess I'll leave that up to you guys.
Yeah, it's hard to keep Rob kind of moving, but we could see, we could kind of look at the 20th and the 21st, and the CIP list might have a lot of discussion, but those other items on that 21st, but we might just play it by ear, and you guys can talk about what makes the most sense.
The 21st might work well, and because I don't see where actually community development probably will go a full 45 minutes,
right.
And neither the library probably a full half an hour. So motor pool you've seen so many times, there's really not any changes there. So
why don't we shoot for the 21st?
Okay, great.
And if then that would give you time for that first week in November meeting to make sure everything's incorporated.
Would we like to go ahead and set that date so that way make sure we have everyone can be there? We can touch bases with Councilmember Casagano afterwards, but that way we'll know the date.
So November 1st, I need to check. I would be able to make for sure a 7 o'clock. I know I'm in Kenai that day, but I don't know how late. So I could probably make a 6 or a 7. Tuesday I'm open. Wednesday open, Thursday open. Obviously I don't have a social life. How's everyone else's calendar looking?
I'm open. I'm not open Wednesday or Thursday, but I'm open the 1st or 2nd, Monday or Tuesday.
Second would, yeah, is there a state election this year? No, the 2nd, yeah. So how does Tuesday or Wednesday? Did you say not Wednesday, Liz?
Not Wednesday.
So how's Tuesday look? Well, let's pencil in Tuesday. We would have a quorum there, but we can check with Councilmember Casagrande and see how that goes.
Okay.
So looking at that, the 21st would be, almost, it would be two weeks and, almost 2 weeks ahead before. So would that be plenty of time?
Yes, I believe so, because then we can work on the second draft budget, answer any questions. We have the transmittal letter that I would like to get to you in that draft budget so that you can take a look at it, along with, I'm hoping that we'll have the financials. So,
so are you 6 o'clock? Do you have something else on that Tuesday? Can't do the 2nd. Well, let's shoot for Monday then, and I'll firm my schedule, and we'll either say 6 or 7, and I'll check and see how late my time in Kenai goes that day. Is that fine with everyone?
So Monday the
1st?
That works. Yes.
That's fine for me.
And so I think our draft budget first public hearing is that scheduled for November 8th. So that won't work then. we'll have to do the first public hearing on the 22nd if we're still reviewing things that might change, or,
So on Monday, I have until Tuesday at noon to get to you. It'd be a quick turnaround. But if
even
we
for
put
public
things-
hearing items? Normally we hold those as public hearing.
The budget, yes, yeah, we hold it as a resolutions for public hearing.
But I
So,
have
but
the
those don't have
resolution
to be-
title, right? I have the title to her and
Okay.
everything for publication.
Okay.
The entire document has to be prepared and ready for 2 weeks in advance.
So that's what I'm saying.
Sorry.
That's what I'm saying. If it's a public hearing item, we wouldn't quite make the 15th, or the 8th.
I was just checking the calendar, Councilmember McClure said November 2nd is out, and that's probably good because P and Z actually has a scheduled meeting that night, so.
May I ask, what is the date then for the public hearing that everything would have to be for November 8th if we were to keep that date?
Okay, it would be October 26th.
So, I don't know that there's time between the 21st and 25th.
To do a second draft budget, it'd be pretty difficult.
Too quick of a
to use the
turnaround.
whole-
I mean, the
second
other
draft
option
budget.
is we could hold our first public hearing on November 22nd.
And the second one on December 13th.
Yeah. But,
Which I think is what we ended up doing last year too.
Yeah.
for last
Typically
cycle.
how, we
It
kind
is.
of need as much time as.
I mean, it would take some heat off. Is there anyone here at the dais planning on being gone that week of Thanksgiving, so November 22nd?
I am.
Oh,
but-
you are? Oh,
But these guys can hear, because it'll be in that format.
yeah, it'll be the heavy lifting's already done.
Mhm.
Well, how about this, no determinations have to be made. You've heard some dates from us. The first works, but that would kick till the 22nd. The 25th, 26th, 27th seems like kind of quick turnaround.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
So maybe mull it over.
I'm sorry, may I ask, what date would the document need to be to you, Brenda, for the 22nd, November 22nd?
It'd be November 9th.
Okay, November.
So that would maybe give you more breathing room. I will have to say, I will be out of state from the 24th to December 1st. So if it goes late, it can go later, I just won't be here during the 24th to the December 1st. But I plan on being here for that 22nd one. Good, thank you. So with some of that out of the way, just tentatively, sounds like again, we'll confirm electric potentially on the 21st. Looking at November 1 as a meeting and taking a look at when public hearing for the introduction, the first and second meetings. First two meetings could be November 22nd and then December 13th. So I'll turn it over to you, and it looks like we're starting on finance tonight, unless you had some wrap up from last night.
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay. And finance is found on page 22. Oh, sorry, 23.
So I have finance on 23 and then general combined services on 24. We'll start on finance. Our department's pretty straightforward, no major changes this year. We did have one thing come up with IT that are a server related or a software related to the AccuFund server needs to be updated. They're going to stop support on it July 1st of 2022. So we added $12,000 under subscription and dues, 7301. So that'll be a one-time increase, and it'll go back down next year. Other than that, I think it's pretty much status quo. I can answer any questions if you have.
Are there any questions? So in the salary change, what is included in that? That's that PERS and then the insurance increase? Is there anything else in that?
Nope, that'll be, well, at the time we were fully staffed, but it is fully staffed budgeted. But yeah, the major increases would be the shift back to the full 22% in retirement, and then the health insurance increase.
And that's something else to note, that the previous years aren't, that's something else that we'll see as an addition, is the previous years aren't fully staffed either, correct?
That is correct.
So that's why those increase.
And 2019 and 2020 actuals would show a vacancy in the
Oh,
director
the vacancies
position.
anyways, right,
Yeah.
right. Right, because the actuals will always show not what was budgeted, but what was the actuals were.
And most of 19 and 20 we didn't have a finance director, so.
Yeah. Skip, just one second, I was trying, actually, you can go, because I was trying to remember, I had another question. Did you have a comment?
Mayor, through the chair for administration, can you please verify, and that, the mayor just mentioned that again, can you verify, we established a budget with a fixed quantity of FTEs. So my understanding in all the years in the past, we budgeted for all the FTEs every year. When did we stop doing that?
I would have to ask.
Dan?
I don't know when we stopped doing it. When I did the 2020 and 2021 budget, we did not.
Did not budget for all positions.
Correct.
So we stopped funding the FTEs that we had listed that we've got in persons. And for like a 2-year period, 'cause like I said, I wasn't around last year for the budget process, I'm doing a little catch up. So it was in my notes, in my notes at home.
But then regardless, the actuals that we compare against for the budgets, it really is a side point.
Yeah, but that's understandable if you don't hire through the year for some reasons, but we're at least budgeting for those FTEs. So thanks for the update on it.
And then, I did notice in that transmittal letter, it was good to know what the percentage increase, so all these will roll up. So we'll know what the percentage increase in the budget, as opposed to the actuals, would be between 2021 and 2022? Okay. Are there any other questions for finance? Go ahead.
Can you please confirm the 18% additional PERS, the fund liability? That's not in the salaries, that's in the retirement benefits, 6201?
Correct.
Perfect. So it's not in the salaries, it's just in the benefits.
Correct.
Thank you.
And that's consistent throughout the budget.
Yeah, I know, it seemed like a point of confusion for me last night, so I just wanted to verify. Thank you.
Sure.
But you can see that, well, there was, yeah, the actuals in that retirement benefits was pretty low in 2020, which is interesting. But high in 2019, closer to what we're budgeting this year.
So that would go back to the CARES Act, because finance was a large portion of the salaries and benefits that were covered for administering the grant.
Which I went back and pulled all that information, I forgot to grab it, but I went back and found all that information. And I have those one sheets where it said, you know, how it was broken out to the departments. But did we get a sheet where it was broken out down to the salary level?
Probably not,
Yeah.
but we have that information.
Okay, it'd be good to see
And
that.
that will be in with the notes.
Oh, with the notes.
In the, I don't know now if I'm gonna have the second draft or you'll have it in the public hearing one. Whichever direction we go in the document, the notes will be there regarding CARES.
And I was trying to find where that was in the, did that get?
It is in the CAFR and, in the CAFR, the CARES, you found out today, where the CARES funding.
So that,
I wrote it down on something else, but I didn't bring it.
so, oh, so that's why the 2020 actuals were so low. It's not only that, well, in 2019, there wasn't a finance director, but the costs were still pretty high.
Well, we had a finance director through August.
Yeah, okay.
And what, in finance in 2019, what we discovered that you'll see the retirement benefits, the retirement benefits in 2019 looked like the full 22% was applied in 2019. Not in the other years, but in 2019. So somehow that got applied and not in debt service because it doesn't show it was applied in debt service. It was applied here. So I can't tell you why, but that's what happened in 2019.
Okay, maybe the
That-
switch happened once and then it got lost.
That happened during audit under one of the finance directors that we had. She made a decision to move it from debt service to actual departments.
Oh, to like make the correction that we're making this year, that she did it that one year,
Right,
or that person did it, but then it didn't get carried over.
correct.
Okay. And then, I just want to clarify, so, education and training is not college level, is that correct?
Correct.
And in the recodification, one of the language that's coming forward, and I'm not stating it verbatim, but it does say that type of training has to be approved by council. So.
And operating supplies, does finance take the burden of those big copiers, or where are those big copiers? You know, like the,
Yeah, we do the main one down here.
okay,
Yeah.
just curious. Anything else? Okay, and then you were gonna do the combined,
So,
oh, Skip.
You want me to say
You
my
can
que-
come, you
want me to
can
say my
come sit
questions till the
closer.
end?
No,
you
you
asked me?
can,
That's right.
you can come sit closer.
I mean, you're on the topic, so I thought I'd
Yep,
just
go ahead.
approach the,
Yep, yep.
on the subject of the, and I don't know where we're heading on this, but if I was on council and came for a day, I guess that's what this falls under. This is another example that I was mentioning last night. So in the private sector, and Sam's keenly aware of this, you know, we have audit standards that we have to follow, like the city does. So the audit information, the financial information that rolls up in the audit, that'll have to follow GASB or GAAP. We get that. But this, I look at these documents as an internal management document. So these can take on any flavor that the CEO, the president, or council decides. And so it should be information that we and the public can actually look at and track along, and that's what I struggled with it. So today I had products on my list, but I just had fun delving into deep dive on this today, so it was interesting. So, but I really came to the conclusion that two things. One, for continuity purposes, you know, I would request, if I was on council, to keep the 18% in the debt plan and roll this out. It really has nothing to do with your current operating costs of this year. Yes, it is a cost, but it's for past employees. And we've got the continuity, with the exception of 2019. We've got this continuity of information that we're looking at, will be provided. If we weren't provided all this information, maybe a different story. But 20, 21, and now 22, they differ, you know, 2019 aside. So.
But what about the continuity with other communities? And
Well, okay,
across the,
I get that.
because that might be something that as a community, why would we be doing something different that's pretty accepted around the state?
Okay, so first question I have to ask, is it a legal issue? Is it a moral issue? You know, it's not. It's a management issue. So
Yeah.
somewhere in the past of this city,
Yeah.
decisions were made to keep this 18% past PERS liability, on the side in a debt product, okay? We can follow it, we get it, we know we have to pay in that, but it's nothing that involves us currently day to day. Heck, it's hard enough to weed through this and try to understand your ratios on employee benefits to salaries as it is, and then you throw this in here, and I and you don't have any idea what the allocation formula is in this thing. It's going to vary, it may vary by position, when positions retire. I don't know how the PERS terminates or walks away, how it expires. So I don't think it's anything that we're doing wrong. It's just that we've decided as a community to do it this way.
Or past
So-
councils have.
Yeah, past
I mean, but
councils,
it
yeah.
sounds like in 2019, we were trying to make a different decision.
Well, somebody made a decision, and I get it, because I think if I could read between the lines in here and go, does this require extra work? So maybe in that year, it's easier just to throw it all in the expense bucket, and not have to deal with this debt package, I would think. I don't know how this thing works, but I'm just drawing at straws. And so the question is do we, for today, on these budgets, are we better off just only looking at 2020 to 2021? And then, this is more work, but to do some comparatives for this document and going forward, if we're going to follow other communities, then my next ask would be, fine, that's fine. Then I ask that administration go back and load up 20 and 21 with the 18% based on the allocations, so we can track this along. But at some point in time, this is all going to expire, right?
2033.
2033. I'll be planted by then, right? But it's going to expire at some point in time. We'll be looking at different apples and oranges again. But that's a discussion for somebody else, at that time. So either one or the other. But for today, it was
Either way.
it was a complete challenge today for me to, and it's something that because we're in high intensive labor organizations, you got to keep a vigilant eye on your labor costs and your benefit costs. But this makes it that much more difficult, when you throw that in there. But if you want to go back and redo it, I'm trying not to create work, I'm trying to just, that's another added work to somebody's list. But I don't know, Mayor, if this is a document that comes out of AccuFund, or if this is a document that's pulled out of AccuFund, put into, in Rotary, we just charge them $100. So I don't know how this comes out of AccuFund, and I don't know how many of these documents, some look like they came out of AccuFund, some look like they were put
Well,
together in an Excel
let's-
spreadsheet, so.
Let's give these guys a chance
Sure.
to, yeah.
Okay, so I have to admit, I have some pet peeves with PERS because of the way the actuarial blew up back in the day, and I was in Alaska at that time. So every time we talk about the 22%, it does make my blood boil, so I'm gonna just actually admit to that one because I don't feel like cities should have to pay it because it was the state's fault, not the city's. So that aside, where we are now is that we do have to charge 18% on all employees. So the employees that we have now, and it's based on the salary. So my salary, my hourly rate, and then times the 18%, and then plus the 4%. So 22% total on each employee's rate.
That's ongoing. So that's what's
Ongoing
happening
until
to you right now.
2033.
Right.
So it's a cost to you and your current, it's an operational cost to your current employment.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and to all the employees that we have now until 2033. I think 8.3 million is what we found today that what we owe under PERS, and that to be paid through the 18% every year. That's what we pay as a contribution. Ironically, what really, again, I'm a little heartburn with PERS, we pay 18% even on the Tier 4 employees who are not in that actuarial, so we pay that on top of that for them too. Don't believe that's fair and right, but that doesn't change anything.
So can you confirm then in 2020, or Sam confirm for $43,587 for retirement benefits, which is PERS?
Which,
Finance, page 23.
right,
Retirement benefits?
That's our PERS, correct?
So that would be our PERS minus the amount that we shifted to the CARES Act fund.
Okay, well,
So that's not-
okay, try another one then.
Yeah.
Go back to 2018.
So I would go
Try
to-
just
I would
pick
go
up.
to
So-
20.
So is the money in here, Sam, the 22% for the active employees and FTE?
Not
No.
Oh, so we're pulling off 18% on active and past.
Right, we have to. We have to do, the 18% isn't on past, we don't keep track of the past employees. We have to do 18% on
The
all
current.
current employees.
Well, my understanding in my notes was this was a past employee liability.
It is a past one, but we still have to pay it, and,
But on the current.
on the current, yeah,
So this is only 4%.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so historically, management did split it out because it is based on the current person's salary, but it is the past service cost of previous employees. And so that's why the previous finance director would put it in the debt service department, because it's not related to current operational employees. However, it is based, the calculation is based on current employees, the 18% of her salary.
Which is what we find throughout the state, why it is in these line items versus debt
Because it's
service.
a current operation.
So, every year with BDO, they understood that. 2019 was the first year we had Alton Rogers, and they were like, why are you doing it this way? And so when Stromberg was here, she just made the decision to move it back to the actual departments. And that's why 2019 is a little bit inflated. And then in 2020, for continuity purposes, they asked me, and I said, I want it in the debt service department, because that's historically what we had done. But then another finance director came and wanted it moved back. So it's frustrating for me, because we're trying to be
Consistent.
consistent.
Yeah,
But
sure.
when you have directors come and go, and they make decisions, so our numbers get skewed.
Okay.
So this was based on the finance director that just left.
And me.
And yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is something that maybe needs to get sorted out, and council should make a final decision on it. My last question for this matter, does this change anything with respects to our to-from accounts between our enterprise funds with respects to like electric? Is going to change now with their, so is that going to change any rate structures in sewer and water as a result of this
Nope.
change up?
It's already calculated.
It is.
Yep. And so each fund has their own debt service department that these costs would lie. And so it wouldn't be a due from.
Councilmember Osinger?
So in the next budget, when we do our next our 2-year budget, we're going to do it this way, like we're doing it this year. And so this will all move down.
Right, unless
Right.
directed otherwise, yes, that's the intention.
It'll be consistent then, and we'll be, okay.
Okay, so let's go to page 24. General fund combined services.
So we had 1180, 1181, and 1182 that we combined. It seemed a little ridiculous that we had one department for the copier with 2 line items,
Yeah.
and the contributions that had 4 line items. So we combined those 2, and also legal. Since we were just doing the flat 66,000 contract, we felt that it could be combined here in one general department. So some things to note, the 7006 legal, you'll see the 66,000 for the contract amount. And then 7010 engineering, 35,000. So our contract with our on-call engineer, R&M.
So does that doesn't include the grant writer that we just approved at the last meeting, or it does? Where did that get?
I think that got put here, yes.
Okay, so that'll have to, but that was for the rest of this year.
Right, the 25,000 was this year, and then we increased the amount in the 22 budget so that it would include it.
Yeah, so 75,000 total,
Oh,
split out between the enterprise funds and the general fund.
got it, right, okay, thank you.
And then you'll see the contributions down in the 78s. The chamber, 108,717, and that's half of the 2020 bed tax actuals.
Okay.
Obviously, 2020 they had very low revenues, so their contribution is low. We kept the senior center status quo of 80,000. I usually receive a letter from them. I did not this year, but we still put it in there.
Yeah.
We removed the $25,000 to the Boys and Girls Club since we have that $170,000 contract with them to run the TYC. And then the small business position that you guys approved this year, $25,000 for that.
So 2020 was the last year that we paid the CHC the $100,000, but that wouldn't come out of this. Where did that come out of?
That was done as a transfer.
It was a
That
straight
on the transfer.
transfer,
schedule.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any questions regarding this? Okay. Harbor SMIC, are we ready for that? Norm, you're an old hat at this. And that starts on page 52.
Madam Mayor, I did want to note for the harbor, I did put this on your spot here, and what the cover page just brings in the transfer. It wasn't loaded on the cover page. And then for reference, as we had last night with Parks and Rec, there was a combination also done in the harbor budget that Norm can speak to, but just for reference, it's broken back out here so that you can see what was previously done.
Okay, so this is different than what's in the packet.
Just the cover pages.
Just the cover page, okay. And that's, we can see the transfers out and the total expenditures. Okay. All right, Harbor Master Regis, it's on you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the budget for this year, I didn't get like so super wild crazy, kind of keep things the same because I got 3 major projects going on. We did up some things, like we did add some additional legal because of the Coast Guard stuff, dealing with them, and then having the attorney have to look. Then we have to negotiate for the building on this side, and of course the land across. So that was up a little bit. So.
Okay.
Besides that, there's a few other things. You see, we combined some of the like harbor wharves and docks. They were separated, and now they're floats and harbor and wharves and docks. So that's why they're combined. But the city manager separated it, so you can see the difference between the years.
Oh, okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
So for comparison, just to help make it more clear, you just pulled it off for comparison. Okay.
That's why it looks like it took off, and you just combined some of the things.
Yeah.
And I take some questions.
It's tough to digest and ask questions at the same time. So, are you expecting, looks like just small changes with utilities. Is revenue in here? Let's find the revenue. What are you proposing for revenue? Well, I was thinking more SMIC, but let's say go with harbor and then SMIC.
So, yeah, that's what we should be doing, the harbor first. Don't combine the two.
Yeah, let's do harbor. Where are we?
So the revenue should be on,
55.
Yeah, okay.
so you see where we combine, of course, floats, docks, and wharves. So that's I&T dock and X float, stuff like that. We combine it with the floats. So that's why that price is elevated. If you look, we go with the revenue because we went up, what, 1.6% this year with the CPI was 1.6, right? Okay. 1.8, thank you. So the revenue did go up a little bit. We have all our, most of our, you can see the actuals is low, but most of our stuff comes here at the end of December for the following year. So Sam has a name for it. I don't remember what it's called. For the revenue we get in December goes towards the following year. It was the deferred revenue. So for the following year. That's why it looks like our actuals are a little lower than what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, so, you're expecting full transient moorage, fall moorage.
So we're expecting all our same barges that come back in tugboats every year. Those docks will be full here shortly. And the regular moorage, pretty much all the same.
And the leases, you put in there just, I was looking for the leases, land rents and leases, just
That's
status
in
quo.
2002.
Yeah, just status quo with the amended budget from 2021.
Right, did they go up in July of this year and then by the CPI, and it'll be the same thing next July,
Okay.
if there is an increase.
And the lease credits are for the work that were done on the Raybos?
No, so we're on harbor side, those,
Oh, sorry, I keep them, yeah.
the lease credits are, it is in the lease for Stewart Fishery, OBI, excuse me, for OBI, that if they have so much people that are from the state of Alaska working
Oh.
hourly, they can deduct that up to that amount right there, half of their lease, and then that's what lease credit's for. We changed it a little bit when we redid their lease, and there was a lot more, but they're not getting that anymore.
Okay.
So,
And they
but we
just
have to,
do it last
we
week.
have to allocate it if it's in
Yeah.
their lease, so.
Okay. And then, fish tax. Does that get?
Say that one more
reported
time?
here? Fish tax, fish tax?
Fish tax goes to the general fund.
So.
I don't
But
get
is it
it.
recorded here as revenue? Where does that get recorded as revenue?
General.
In the general fund. And then, the passenger fee for the day cruises, where's that revenue?
It is under, should be under,
About $3.50. It's gotta be here somewhere.
yeah,
I don't think it has its own name, I think it's rolled up somewhere. I can get back to you on that.
Okay, because that does go into this harbor, the
Yeah.
enterprise
Yes.
fund. But in past years, hasn't there been a discussion with that fish tax to remit some of it back to the harbor enterprise fund? Hasn't that happened in past years?
so, when Carrie Anderson was here, she got the entire amount back,
Yeah.
and then when Mac was here, they took
Half.
half,
Yeah.
and then when I started, they took the other half.
Oh, yeah, that's
So-
what I thought.
Yeah, I don't remember any talk, it'd be nice to come back, it's roughly around 300 some thousand, 350,000, I believe, roughly.
But obviously, it's in our calculations for the budget as a whole.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, something to look at for our next 2-year budget.
At least a portion.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying the whole thing, but.
We'll arm ourselves.
This time.
Budgeted at 400,000 on page 6.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Harbor Enterprise Fund? I'm just kind of rattling. I would like to know what that,
Where it's rolled up into.
yeah, the passenger.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too. It's gotta be fairly substantial.
Yeah.
And then you pay Pilt?
I'm sorry?
So you pay Pilt?
Yes.
And you have a transfer into the general fund also?
Correct.
The transfers, just for reference,
And that's where you are gonna, in the future, look at developing a formula to some extent?
well, yes, for that, but also for the admin,
Great
it's more of the
question.
admin fee was the, needing to
Ah.
develop a formula for that.
totally separate. It should be really expensive.
The transfers aren't
Oh,
posted.
Sam, I think, so the passenger fees should be going to pay the bond debt. Is it rolled up in there?
Oh,
yeah,
that's
there's a-
where it is.
there's a-
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what it was designed for, was to
Yeah.
pay the bond debt. So it's
Okay.
rolled up into the bond debt.
So that's where it'll be
There's a
reflected.
separate fund,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, yep, that makes more sense.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions about the Harbor Enterprise Fund? Okay, SMIC.
The same thing, the cover sheet indicates the transfer, passed out to you, otherwise the rest of the budget's in.
So once, oh wait, you guys finished reading. Sorry, you all had your head down there, so.
Go ahead.
So on SMIC, I requested to raise the salaries over there because we've been so busy with all the additional vessels and work we got going on there. We're cutting it close into going over budget on salaries. So I requested to raise it for the salaries over there, and also because we've been cleaning up a mess over there, the Raybo mess we've been cleaning up, which is actually getting really close to being done. And because they're still waiting to get rid of some vessels, that credit's not there yet.
So talk about revenue on that side, the land, the leases, how that was budgeted, the dockage, the wharfage, how is that looking with the new breakwater?
So we had a couple years of figuring out where we were, but with the influx of JAG getting all these larger vessels, we've been storing them on the North Dock, so which has increased revenue. And also Fisherman's Float's been like 2 to 3 deep.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep. Now we're gonna lose 100 feet when the Coast Guard comes, but we're gonna take that 100 foot and move it and face it east-west. So we'll still have that at the very north end. So
Have a finger?
we'll have a finger there
Okay.
instead of getting wrapped off of that. But it's, you know, you can go over there, you can see it's fairly busy, and then when the Aurora goes back in the water, she can be rafted off the Tustamine on the North Dock. So that's all revenue for that stuff we never had over there without that breakwater.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
And the yard's full, or close to being full again this year. We're actually putting the vessels behind the JAG fence, because currently, I don't know if you all know, we're working on a lease with them to extend the rails out the back gate. So we're working on a piece of property which will be coming before you here with the next month or so to lease to JAG, so they got a couple 2-year projects there.
So yeah, the land leases are proposed back to 2000 and even lower than 2016. With the land rents, non-operating.
So we have that 2 piece of property that is no longer, that along with Raybos, it will come back to the city, so there's no lease revenue for those 2 pieces.
Okay,
That's where that is. And then that 1 piece has actually been broken in half now, which will be coming before you, like I said, in a month. But as soon as we finish cleaning up that other lot, it's gonna be leased out to another entity that's already over there. So
so
we'll get
there
that
might-
lease revenue back probably next year.
Okay.
But I just was not sure, so I couldn't
The
put it in there.
timing. And it's good to see some power sales over there, crane fees. Any questions with SMIC? And then when the Coast Guard gets in there, they'll be providing leased revenue?
So it all depends on how the negotiations go, because remember, we have that building on this side, and I know we discussed it at one of our meetings, that they're looking at either, they don't want to crush it, get rid of it, where the city can use it. That's, I think we talked about maybe Parks and Rec or something, and then we can, you know, they can give us that building, we can give them that land in, you know, or fair market, whatever it could be, and then, if the Coast Guard ever leaves, that land will be referred back to us across the bay. So that's part of their lease, and they already told us that, so. But we're in negotiations with them, like I said, something's supposed to come in January for that. I know I was over there today with the surveyor, and the Coast Guard hired that surveyor to find all the utilities, and got the corners marked. They're gonna be doing samples, so we're moving forward.
That's good news. Excellent. I'll turn it over to the public. Does the public have any questions about Harbor or SMIC? Comments? Anything else we should know?
We are, well, you see, we're trying to get, we're doing some things out of pocket over there, so, because we just don't have the money to do, there's a drainage issue over there. You all know that.
Yeah.
There's a drainage issue. We need to work on it. And with the extra engineering, we can maybe have that engineered, and then maybe when the yard gets empty, one section, we can do a section of yard. But it's gonna, you know, it'll be in the future, but, you know, with the revenues increase in the storage fees, that's gonna help us be able to do that, which makes things better. And the boats will be out of the water, and the ditches will drain properly.
And when is the bonding paid off over there?
There is no bonds over at SMIC. We're
Okay.
done.
Those have been paid for. When did those get paid for? 2018? Or before that?
The last thing we had over there was that we were paid off in 2015, 14.
Oh, that
We
one.
bought the travel lift.
Yeah.
That put us back in debt. And then we paid that off with the money from some of the money from that grant. But it was actually the admin fees for finance. Finance, instead of the city getting it, they paid that travel lift off,
Okay. Good.
which put us in the black.
Great.
Which you all know, general fund actually funded SMIC, so. And it actually, you know, it's actually making money now. We're actually building up a revenue, so I mean.
Yeah, that's a long time coming.
Mhm.
This is just, I was just saying, this is amazing to see the numbers now and thinking back to
How-
previous years. You know, this is very good news.
So let's open it up. If there's no questions with this, are there additional questions that council has as administration's working through some of these things? I know I have provided some of my questions. So if things come up as you're going back and reviewing, you know, the city manager, you know, she's working and developing some things. Tuesday night, we have Public Works, both the general fund and enterprise funds, police, jail, and healthcare.
And Madam Mayor, if anybody has any questions later, I know there's a lot to go through right away
Yeah.
with the new lay down. So just give me a call and answer your questions.
Thanks, Matt.
So, Madam Mayor,
Go ahead.
as far as for the next week's meeting, as you stated, the topics, but do keep in mind jail, and I would like to discuss that, and I have no new news to report this time. We had contact with the new department that was to be working with us, and that happened once and nothing else so far, so not making any headway. So it is a decision that I think needs to be made. One way or the other. But just keep that in mind as you're looking at the budget dollars, and then we can talk further about it.
And then one thing that you said was you were potentially going to speak to Senator Machicki,
Yes, we're still working on trying to.
get setting something like that. Okay. And maybe as a sneak peek on page 27, can you show us exactly where we would see, you know, some of that shortfall? You know, it's jumping the gun a little bit, but as we're reviewing that for Tuesday, where should we be looking to, so that we can identify, you know, what's not getting funded?
Sure. So at the top of the page under revenue, the total revenues for the jail is really the contract, and then the jail facility rental is $398,952. The expenses, including the personnel costs, are $924,270, so over $500,000. That's
So the delta is what we're,
mhm.
not
over budget.
recouping from the state.
And as you can see, that has gone on for years, and it's just not sustainable, especially as, you know, personnel costs rise, operating costs overall, including personnel and healthcare and those alike, but also operating costs for the jail itself continue to grow, but the contract does not. And it does not appear on the state side that they have any appetite to come to the deal to talk about it either.
So sure, why would they?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what happened in 2020 then? Where
That cares.
expenditures were less?
Is that the CARES Act?
Yeah, I was just wondering if that was
That's CARES Act money?
Since we're looking at it.
And
So-
I do want to just say that the next document will have all of that noted in there too, so
Okay.
we'll work on that one.
Having those CARES Act.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, and there's a huge jump with the 2021 actuals to 2022 also. Oh, because the actuals are just through June or July. Okay, yeah. Okay. So something to look at that as a sneak peek for Tuesday, and then you'll have more kind of policy questions for us surrounding that also?
Yes, and yes, so be thinking about it, and of course the police chief will be here to speak to any progress we've made, which has been none so far. So maybe we'll have more information for Tuesday, but
Some time for some political pressure, perhaps.
yeah.
So I'll turn it over. We do have two publics sticking it out. Comments or questions?
Sure.
Yep.
Thanks for your time. I'll had 5 requests. One, I was wondering if we, for the next couple of meetings, we could get a total general fund, just a comprehensive consolidated P&L for all your general fund accounts. Is it possible to have an active fund, just give us a consolidated? For me, it would, I have to deep dive into all the little department and stuff, but it might help cement all that in the general fund. And then we talked about the FTEs today. So I learned something new, that we hadn't been funding all our FTE positions in the budgets for 2020 and 2021. So as a result of that, and I think I recall in past years, Mike might be able to remember this, I think I can recollect where we had a supplemental document that indicated FTE numbers, so like 13.4, 12.5, and you know, I don't really need to know how many people work in the copy department, but, you know, on a global level, we have total FTEs. Did you see that?
Yeah, so that actually gets put in the back of every budget.
Yes.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
cool,
we
okay.
have it in those
Good, good.
budgets.
And then,
So you had asked me today, besides the transmittal letter, that is something that we
And
can
I
see.
have
Yeah,
that.
go ahead,
yeah,
sorry.
and that would probably help, like myself, I can look at how many FTEs you're at, because that should jive with if you're funded in 2019 100 positions, and then 2021 you're only funding 80 positions. That just tells me that we've changed some funding or positions, so you can kind of track with what you have for FTEs. On the Parks and Rec yesterday, a lot of activity in the Parks and Rec department. I personally would recommend going back to put that allocation of payroll per those individual little departments, similar to what you've done in all the other departments. I didn't see anybody else rolling up and do a total aggregate one payroll, like Norma's would do one payroll.
That's in other,
Oh,
that's
you got
coming up.
that? Okay. And then the health fund, health seems to be the world's mantra nowadays. We've all been wrestling with health costs and benefits for a decade or more. I was wondering if it would be beneficial. We talked about a 10% increase, but yet when I looked at just the general fund alone, I think, under the health benefit workup, it was up 25%. So I was wondering if it would be beneficial to have a lay down that kind of spoke for maybe the last 3 or 4 years. What's been the change? Because there's some pretty dramatic changes in the numbers, and even maybe the way the assumptions are being calculated. It's maybe
Well,
a
I
little
know
bit different.
we did change insurance firms.
Yeah.
So that brought us quite a bit of savings at one point.
And along with funding every position with salary costs are also healthcare, and that had not been done in the past either.
Okay.
And I believe also in the past, they've budgeted an average per employee,
Okay.
but there's a significant cost difference between someone who's single, married,
Oh, yeah.
and has a family.
Yeah.
This year, we were budgeting everybody at their actual, what they have, and then I think the median for vacant positions.
Correct.
So that's higher than we have in the
Okay.
past as
Good.
well.
And hoping to come under budget, but, you know,
Yeah.
I wanted to project high for this purpose.
And then my last question was, can I please get the dates again on the campground revenue? Campground fellow said 100% occupancy for the season. And what is the season that we're basing 100% occupancy on? Because, is that like only 3 months full? Or what's the number based on? I mean, is there,
I believe it's 3 months, I think it was, because May they were short. Said they were full, but they were still in the winter. They reduced their camping to a certain area so they wouldn't have to be all spread out.
yeah.
And then I think in June he expanded for the full campgrounds, June, July, August.
But unless I missed something, I thought I heard him say that he's budgeting 100% occupancy for the season. Is that right? Did I miss that?
I believe the statement was, the question was compared 2022 compared to 2021. So we're assuming identical occupancy rates in 2022 as compared to 2021. I don't know if that's.
Oh, not 100% of, that was kind of my understanding too, not 100% of every site, but at the same 100% of the revenue from
Correct.
this year to next year.
Yeah,
That's how I
that's a pretty lofty jump in there. And I just was curious what,
We definitely weren't full from April 1st until September 30th. And like Norm said, it's also adjusted, you know, certain campground, like,
Well, I have it.
Res was open during the winter time.
yeah.
But not all the campgrounds are open, obviously.
Let's
Oh, yeah.
turn to that page, because I think it matched the revenue, the 1,400,000. Parks and Rec, 46. Oh, campground, revenue expenditures. No, that's not right.
Page 43.
43, yeah, sorry. So the camping fees, he budgeted at $1 million. The proposed was $1 million, is the proposed revenue. And this year, it was 1,400,000 were the actuals. So lower than this year,
He said actuals,
right? Wasn't that our actuals, 1,400,000?
No.
Yeah, and I think it actually ended up being more than that, but we can check into it.
But this is a total, it's total bill.
Oh, utilities, we had
Heavy utilities.
Oh, the showers and everything.
Oh, I know.
But just 43.
I didn't bring that, it was in the last packet,
It
and I
was.
didn't bring my last
8,000.
packet.
850.
Something like
Yeah.
that, yes.
So it's right in there.
Yeah. Line item 4350.
51.
Right, but those would need a.
Okay, so it looks like they budgeted right at static. And then the roundups, so would we see those on page 6 and 7? Does that help? Oh, that's revenue. And then the expenditures. Oh, so the general fund expenditures total is 16 compared to 2020 and 2021. It's just like in that transmittal letter, knowing what the increases are. Okay. Are there any other questions? Comments from administration?
And Madam Mayor, we will continue to work on it and bring another document forward at this time. Great, so for the next, on the 20th, I will not have another document with continue to work from this, but I will answer the questions, send out the information, and any documents that need to be updated, we'll update.
Sounds good. Okay, I'll go ahead and adjourn at 7.
So,